Hey Rangers, today we have a review from Manga Entertainment, and this is Super Dino Charge Volume 1, and I've got to admit, I was kind of skeptical when going into this because I was like, it's not going to be the best because everyone's been bagging on the series, but I kind of like it. So let's start with the review. Now, before we begin, I kind of really want to do this review a little bit differently, rather than going through all the episodes, because you get quite a lot. You get pretty much half the season straight off the bat on this one. So rather than going on an overview of every single episode because it's been done, I'm going to talk about what I like and what I don't like, etc, etc. So pretty much like a normal review. So there are no special features, which I'm kind of really gutted about, but to be honest, since the other Power Ranger DVDs, there's never been really kind of extra features, which I'm okay with, but it would be kind of nice maybe to have some interviews or something like that. We come back into the Power Ranger universe with Tyler kind of rounding up what had happened, etc, etc. Back with a new bad guy called Heckle, as well as his other side, which is Snide. We're also introduced to a character much later on called Singe, and he's the typical bad guy that I like to kind of see, where he's just like, I'm better than anyone. I don't need to do this at all. You are just maggots compared to what I am. That sort of bad guy. I've not really seen one for a long time in the Power Ranger universe, but he was a bit of a douche. But I think he has like, his gun's called the Last One, or the Last Blaster. And I think it's Tyler, and I'm guessing Chase, I think, where they turn around and he was like, why is it called that? He goes, because it's the last blast you'll ever see, and fires it. I was like, genius, like the writing on that one. Tyler also in the series gets a new power-up, so you could see it as a battleizer, which, if he was in canon with the rest of the universe, with the Power Ranger universe at least, he would be the strongest Ranger of all time. We also have Tyler finding his dad, which again, it was a really nice touch that they brought that arc, and they didn't kind of leave it. It wasn't left for long. It was, here's your dad. We kind of like paid off with that. So it was really like nice to see that kind of like finished payoff, rather than it be very near the end, like, oh, last episode, looks like your dad was on the ship the whole time. It was, boom, you know, we're introducing him. He becomes the Cyan Ranger, which he's not really in it for long. It's like you spend the entire season of Dino Charge talking about how you want to see your dad, and he's gone. Why? I don't know. We get kind of a lot more filler episodes. Again, another kind of storyline that is kind of chased up is Chase and his girlfriend Kaylee. I think it's Kaylee, where she and him get together. She finds out that he is the Black Ranger, and that arc kind of like concludes where Chase isn't the type of guy to go around after girls anymore. He knows what he wants, and that's it. So I kind of really thought, oh, that's really nice. So let's talk about the episodes. On disc 1, you get 1 to 5, which is When Evil Stirs, Forgive and Forget, Nightmare in Amber Beach, A Date with Danger, and Roar of the Red Ranger. And on disc 2, you get another 5 episodes, which are Forged Under Fire, Home Run Coda, Riches and Rags, Besties Forever, and Gone Fishing. So let's talk about the filming. When I was watching the filming, the episodes at least, I felt it was very consistent. There wasn't really kind of any errors. There was nothing really there that I kind of thought, oh, this is really off-putting. With the introduction of other characters, and we'll probably talk about this much more later on in the actual probable character development, but there were characters that introduced that kind of really annoyed me. It felt like they didn't need to be in there, that it wasn't really kind of towards the story. It was just more like, we'll put these random characters in, characters that you will never see or hear of ever again, and that'll be it. One of them is Shelby's best friend, Erin, who claims to be a Power Ranger. She is a chronic liar. She takes like credit for everything. Boom, you know, that's it. And she kind of irritates me because it's the way that the characters in the filming were. So when everyone finds out she's a Power Ranger, most people just follow her for no reason. And she's like, guys, seriously, step back. And they just go, and that's it. And I'm like, oh God, why? Oh, it was just like some of the way the filming on that one was. It felt like it was trying to be a little bit funny, but it wasn't. Shelby's dad was a character, and it's just the way that, I think it's when it comes to making the Bronto burger, and I'm going to talk about this later. When Shelby was like, I want to become a person who works with dinosaurs, archaeologist, or anything like that, or a paleontologist, I think that's right. Her dad was just like dismissive, and even though we've not really seen this for a long time, to me it felt like it was something that they just threw in, and it didn't kind of make sense. I think it could have been done a little bit differently. The show worked a lot more with a lot of suspense, and it kept me wanting to watch a lot more. If I hadn't have seen this originally, like when it first aired, I would be hooked on this completely. And again, when there was like 1 or 2 episodes I hadn't seen, I was generally wanting to see more and more of it. And I like that they were building up to this sort of kind of like suspense to make you want more. And the camera changed. Grim. When we come to the Brachiozord and how that was introduced, I actually generally liked it because the shots were actually generally interesting. They were slightly different. We got some different angles, and it kind of just gave it a little bit more spice in a way. Not much spice, but at least it gave it something like something completely different rather than the generic whole, oh, yeah, it's exactly the same as every other episode. So that I kind of really liked. As mentioned before in previous reviews, it was shot in HD. And this really made a difference compared to where you saw the suits. You could see a lot of detail on the suits. You know, even in the sets, even on the props in the background, you could clearly make them out. And it wasn't kind of blurred out. And it wasn't like kind of like the quality dipped. I really like the fact that it was constant all the way through. So normally in Power Rangers, when you see the generic Sentai footage with the American footage, you couldn't really tell at times. It was very well blended in. The locations, even though they could be slightly off at times, weren't, and this was actually kind of nice. It felt like it was a fluid motion, and it wasn't just a hey, here we go, jump cut. Now I know a lot of people are saying with like the Gold Ranger, you could tell that it's a different color, but when the action kicked in, you couldn't really tell that much. Now the only thing I will turn around and say error-wise that I found in the filming was when Tyler uses carnival mode and he's got Rexy on him, and then suddenly later on the Rangers are fighting in the Megazord, the first one, and Rexy's there, and I'm like, is it something different? You know, because I'm sure that as soon as he gets like the carnival mode, he keeps referring to him as Rexy, and when he throws him, it turns into normal Rexy. So I found that a little bit off. So I don't know if that had been completely retconned, where they didn't kind of think about it, or it was just an offspring of Rexy. I don't know. But either way, it was kind of a nice to see a little bit of an error in it. And if you're wondering which fight it was the one against Fury. I think he's got the Zodiac rings on him, so that's when Singe throws it on him. So yeah, that's the one. Now let's talk about the writing. Now the writing wasn't too bad at times. I think that they could have slightly tweaked it so it ran and flowed a little bit better, but I didn't find anything majorly wrong. I kind of really wanted to follow the story, and it wasn't just something different. It was like, boom, here is a story that flows all the way through, that keeps it consistent. I also really like the payoff. You have a lot of different things in this. You had the fact that Tyler finds his dad. That to me was something that I didn't want it rushed. You find the entire whole season of Dino Charge where Tyler is talking about finding his dad, and then in Super Dino Charge it pans out. The only thing that I didn't like, and I'm not too sure if this is a Saban thing at the time or if this was a Nickelodeon thing, is the fact is that as soon as his dad goes, he's like, right, I'm off, see you later, and everyone's like, bye, and that's it. Tyler gets a selfie with his dad, and that's it. And I kind of thought, what? You spend so much time wanting to find him, and this is the payoff. It's good that they've paid it off, but what the hell? This is also the same thing with Prince Phillip. He turns up, and he's like, hello, fellow Rangers, I'm here to help. And it's like, oh, we've done it. He's like, bye! And I don't know how far Xandar is to Amber Beach, but, you know, you think that you'd be there a lot more. Now, he just turns up and then just disappears, and they don't use him. They don't utilize him that much. And again, I don't know if it's a pay thing, if it's a Saban or a Nickelodeon thing, but it just felt like that character should just be like, I'm gonna give you my Energem. I don't need it anymore. You can have it, and then that's it. You don't see him, and then you just focus on the main Rangers rather than having a character that doesn't appear much. It really frustrated me a lot. Now, when we come up to the episode Forged in Fire, this is when you see Kendall, Tyler's dad, as well as Prince Phillip. They all start fighting in that three-way team, which is obviously in the Sentai. It would have been nice if they put a lot more of that fighting in, say, naturally the American footage and then lead into it. Also, one thing I found out is when obviously the Zodiac rings go onto that N-Gems and they crack Tyler's one when they remove it. So they all say you don't use your powers because the N-Gems cracked and it could destroy you, it could kill you, blah, 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 whatever it was. But I didn't see any kind of repercussions on this. It kind of reminded me of the episode of Power Rangers in Space, where Adam has the busted Mastodon morpher. You know, when he goes like, oh, I'm going to morph. And Alpha's like, no, don't. It's very dangerous. But when Adam does, his suit's fine. But then at parts, it's kind of fading off. You know, it's kind of failing. It's morphing, demorphing, and it's hurting Adam. And I would have loved to have seen this with Tyler. When they go into the cave, which again has hot lava, you think you'd seal it off at least. But no, like when they go in, he's like, oh no, the Energem, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to use Dino X mode or Armor X mode, and goes into the lava. I'm like, no, your powers should be failing. It's like, oh, I kind of would have liked to have seen at least some damage to the suit. Maybe something wasn't there. Maybe the T-Rex emblem wasn't on his chest, or it kind of faded and he is like, right, I've only, by my estimate, got 3 minutes to do this. But to build up that suspense, to show his powers failing, that would have been a lot better, and that's what I would have put into the writing and got the visual effects team to do. I also found that there are a lot of sports episodes in this, which is fine, and I totally understand it because they want kids to go out and exercise, but I found it kind of more focused on that at times. So when you had like Riley running against his rival, where you had Riley coaching Coda, those are the things I thought, okay, they're fun episodes, but it kind of got to a bit like, meh. Now, with the whole writing, there is a better writing than, say, with Ninja Steel. I feel like this was actually a really decent series, that they put a lot of time and effort into writing, that they really wanted to kind of bring it back after the events of Megaforce, Super Megaforce, Samurai, and Super Samurai. I feel like this had a lot more substance and a lot more kind of suspense than, say, the later on coming up, which is Ninja Steel. Let's talk about the characters. The main two characters that I feel changed a lot through this entire series were Ivan and Riley, not in a good way. The characters that I feel that have changed a lot were mainly Chase. He is possibly my favorite Black Ranger. But with Ivan and Riley, it felt like their characters changed a lot, and I didn't kind of like it. Every single time a problem came up to Riley, it felt like he had to say, oh, I have to prove myself, you know, to my family, I have to prove to my friends, I have to do this, and it felt like it taking him out of character. From what you see through all the way of Dino Charge is that he is this kind of person that likes games. You know, he likes chess, he likes to kind of prove himself to a while, but you kind of think that after the first season, all the stuff he's like, I've got to prove myself, I've got to do this, I've got to make sure I'm number one, would have phased out because he would have changed as a character. He would have kept those elements in, but not kind of every single time something happened, like a sporting event, well, I've got to beat that person because this is my reason, and it doesn't match up with the other reasons in the series. So when it comes to Home Run Coda, he finds out that Coda can actually hit a ball, and he's really, really good at it. But then he's like, oh my god, now my dream is to take you to the little leagues or to the big leagues to make you win, etc, etc. And I found that kind of, oh, that's a bit weird there. I thought you would be a little bit different. But it felt with this that he was just kind of like mad. Like it was suddenly a dream that has just suddenly picked up. There was no reference to this anywhere. Like it would have been okay if at the very beginning of, like, say, one of the sports episodes in Dino Charge, where Riley's like, hey, one of my big things is I love baseball, but I really want to take someone or be in the major league. I could understand this, but this was just very kind of flat and very kind of, we're putting this in straight away for no reason at all. And I think that was a very kind of big missed opportunity. Ivan also changed a lot, and I didn't like that. In the first season, like in Dino Charge, he's very grounded. You know, he's still learning, but he felt kind of normal. But when it comes into Super Dino Charge, it feels like he is really big-headed. He is not the character that he was meant to be, and this really kind of annoyed me. When it comes to Riches and Rags, that's when it kind of really annoyed me. In the previous season, he was more like, you know, you have my undying loyalty. You know, he doesn't really say anything. But in this one, when they bring in the training dummy, as well as this like really nice jacket that costs millions, you know, he doesn't take time to kind of go, well, that doesn't look like a training dummy. Why is there a jacket? And he just cuts away. He attacks. And then all of a sudden, when Kendall's like, oh my god, no, stop, he's like, well, it wasn't very good anyway. You know, it's like, oh, she says like, oh, by the way, you know, this is older than you. And he's like, oh, well, the craftsmanship is not as supreme. And I'm like, you've just destroyed something that isn't yours. You know, if you had done that previously in another episode, you would have been, I'm really sorry, and sympathetic. But all this just seemed like you didn't care. Like you are, like he was the bee's knees. But also, when he goes to Mr. Smith, which I thought was quite funny, the person that owned the jacket, he's like, oh, you know, I'm going to give you my loyalty, but I want the every other Sunday off. It's like, it feels like it was meant to make Ivan the kind of the comical British guy or something like that. And it generally grated on me a lot because he was one ranger I could relate to because pretty much British, not the fact that he's a million years old, etc., etc. But it felt to me like it was nice to actually see a proper English ranger or an English-speaking ranger that I could go, do you know what? You're actually quite cool. In another example, with A Date with Danger, they put like a UFO or something in front of the telescope, and he's like, what sorcery and witchcraft is this? I'm like, you can morph and fly in space. Chase throughout the entire series has the most development, and I really like that they built this character up. Originally, he's like kind of like showing off his skateboarding skills to Kaylee, and he's like, you know, I'm the best. And when Kaylee breaks up with him, he learns that lesson. But when he becomes the Black Ranger and she falls in love with him and then says like, you know, I want to date you, he actually learns about it. He knows what she likes, what her dreams are, and he changes, and that is absolutely awesome. He realizes the error of his ways and actually makes a huge effort to change him as a person so he can become a better person. Because he changes, he doesn't go back, he sticks with it, and this is the reason why he's one of my favorite Rangers of all time. Shelby's dad really annoys me in this because he is the sort of character that is mainly focused on himself. And as I said previously in the episode where he makes the Bronto burger, he gets them to count, says, right, count how much this is, and then you work it all out. But the way that he's putting together, he's just throwing stuff about, and I'm like, no person who's making that will turn around and say like they are the best. He lost money in my eyes. He's like, I made $4 profit, but lost those $4 because he was throwing food around, which was waste, where he could have easily have put that in another burger. But the way that he was doing it isn't about the money, it's all about style. And I'm like, but it's just the way that he doesn't listen to Shelby. Shelby says like, I don't want to be in the family business. I want to work with dinosaurs. I want to be with dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. And he's just like, oh, I don't care about your dinosaurs. You have to learn about business because the entire family know about business. Now, I'm not going to go too much into Prince Phillip and Tyler's dad because again I have covered this, but generally I don't think those characters were utilized. As soon as Tyler's dad comes in, he's probably there for an episode, he doesn't believe a lot of people, and then suddenly he just disappears. You know, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go find Sledge, but it's or the where the ship is, but it's a small place, you can easily find it. So I generally don't think that the character was utilized very well. Same thing with Prince Phillip. In this disc, or these two discs, he was nowhere to be seen, and it kind of felt, hang on a minute, you're meant to be a character that comes in, that helps the Rangers. You're more of a person that just disappears for a long time. Oh, it just generally irritated me. So what made this interesting for me? I think it's some of the characters as well as the story of Chase. You know, at first he was an okay ranger and then turns into a decent ranger. And again, he is in my top 5 list of awesome rangers. He becomes a well-rounded character. You see the progression from start to finish, and it does pay off. Also, as I've mentioned before, the whole thing with Tyler's dad, even though he wasn't utilized much later on, but he was used, the whole story of Tyler wanting to find him, and then does. I felt like there was a lot of conclusion. It wasn't any cliffhangers. There wasn't anything that made me go, this to me was absolutely perfect. And I like the way that they rounded it all up. So my final thoughts. I generally enjoyed this as much as there were a few things that kind of irritated me. I was very surprised on how many you got on a disc. So I thought it was going to be here's disc 1 for the first 4 to 5 episodes, and then obviously you get the next disc later on. But this one, I generally really like the fact that you got half a season straight away, and I'm very much looking forward to reviewing the next one, which will probably be the next video. Tyler's kind of carnival mode, the way that he is a lot stronger, but then it kind of relates to those bad guys were also ridiculously strong if they could put up with a mini Megazord in a Power Ranger. I do kind of really wish that you would have got some sort of like special features. Now I know these are from Shout, so obviously they're just the main discs, but it would have been really nice to actually see some sort of special features that could be in the next load of series that you could like say behind the scenes. Maybe you could see a lot of different little things that actually made it into the series. I think that would have been really kind of like fantastic. I would wholeheartedly love and go and film that sort of stuff. I didn't really like Ivan that much in this one. It felt very pushed and forced, and his entire character changes. I really liked him in Dino Charge, but in Super Dino Charge, I kind of like, if you collected this from Dino Charge, then I highly recommend getting this because it is a great addition to any sort of Power Ranger DVD collection. And if you're kind of thinking, do I need to jump into this one straight away? I'd do it because it is a good season, and for what you get for your money, I would say it's actually worth it. So Rangers, what are your thoughts on this? Did you like Super Dino Charge when it first came out? What were your thoughts on it? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you've liked this video, like, favorite, comment, and consider subscribing. Check out all the other videos on the channel if you want to help out on Patreon. Link is in the description down below. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.